Mariner fans, it's Monday and it's Mojo, and we decided to record an episode yesterday for you when you're listening with Jason Churchill. Brought him back on. Always a pleasure to have Church on. But we say this at the end of the episode. Fun little news. I don't know if it's news, more so just noteworthy. 365 days ago, as you're listening to this episode on February 28th, 2022, February 28th, 2021, 365 days ago from today was episode number 1 of Monday Mojo. And so it's our anniversary. 1 year old. We're older. So yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's been a hell of a ride. And I'm just excited for another year, boys.
Yeah, it was great to have Church on again, and this episode was awesome. I mean, we got into the deep dive of the Mariner stuff, and what we're all asking is, what free agents come in this once this lockout ends, and he really gave us some good stuff. Yeah, that's exciting about the 1 year though. I didn't know that until you brought it up.
I was looking at the calendar and was like, wait, because I remember February 28th was the day that we met with the Sins, because I don't know why I remember it, but I do. And I was like, holy shit, this is perfect timing that we're doing an episode. It's the anniversary. And then I was excited to tell Schwabi, but, Schwabi, of course, he couldn't make it, whatever.
We'll get him back soon, though. But it's just kind of cool. It's awesome to see how far we've really come from the start. We got a lot of big things planned for 2022 with our camera that we bought. And so I'd want to say, before you, watch this Jason Churchill interview, just click that subscribe button, for YouTube, for Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You're not going to want to miss out on all this content that we're going to be putting out this year. We're going to drop an episode every Monday. We're going to, eventually hopefully get a travel series going.
Yeah. What are we thinking on that? Where are we going?
We were looking
still
at
deciding that. Yeah.
First of all, we need to figure out what the hell when the season starts.
Yeah.
We were going to go to, they're playing Tampa Bay in Miami, but that's the end of April, and my sister's getting married, so I can't go. So we can't do that.
I got a date. I was thinking about taking a 3-day weekend in June. It's when the Mariners play the Angels, and then we could, connect with Saucy down there as well. I think that'd be the perfect place to, try and go if we want to go that route. But
that'd be cool.
Yeah. So
we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. But anyways, yeah. Coming up, it's about a 45-minute interview, just chat baseball things, pun intended. You'll soon get that inside joke shortly. But it's a great interview with him. Always a pleasure talking with Church. That's all I got coming up next. Appreciate you guys.
Church, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys?
Thanks for doing it, man. Second time back on. First time was great. For all our listeners out there, if you're not familiar with Jason, big Jake Fraley guy. He wants to see him get 500 bats in left field.
Rays. Yeah, the Rays.
I've been listening to your...
What's the hate on Jake Fraley? I haven't heard that.
There's no hate on Jake Fraley. It's just, when you get to a certain point with a player, he gets 25, 26, 27 years old, you kind of know what he is. There's no hate on Jake Fraley. If he's your 26th guy, that doesn't mean you're a bad team. You can be a good team with Fraley as your last guy. But if Fraley's your 26th guy and Dylan Moore's on your team, then maybe Fraley's your 25th guy, and at that point we have a problem.
All right, one or the other. Who would you rather have, Demo or Fraley?
I would rather have Dylan Moore because he can play the infield. Yeah, I mean, Fraley's not a center fielder. If he was a legit center fielder, I might feel a little differently because I do believe in the bat a little bit more. But I also think Dylan Moore was so bad offensively last year that can he be worse? Can he even be that bad again? Like, I'm not sure that's there. Big swing change coming for Dylan Moore, or that's just who he is. But we'll see. Better athlete, can play short a little bit, can play second, certainly maybe left and right. But yeah, he's Fraley's a little limited to really left field because of the arm. So
I'm loving the backdrop, man. You look like you're behind Fenway, the big Great Wall in Fenway Park or something.
Yeah, that's what the shot's from. Yeah, I joked at work. No, that's actually where I am. And our sales guy was like, "Wow, how'd you get back there?" He totally took me seriously. But yeah, it's a pretty cool shot.
We don't want to waste too much time on the player lockout. I know you're probably, done with talking about all that, but just kind of your thoughts on your boy Heyman said that they're making progress as well. So just your thoughts real quick.
Yeah, I think when you hear similar things from both sides, and I think if you read the words, you're getting basically the same thing from both sides, even though the league made it sound more positive than the union did. I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I think the biggest thing I have a problem with now, and and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, ever since they first came out with this whole Monday deadline for canceling games. They don't need to cancel any games. Like if they wanted to play 162 games, the season could start April 25th and they could fit 162 games in. There's so many ways: play double headers, shorten the All-Star break, extend the season, play on a couple of off days, play 5-game series. There's so many ways that they can figure out ways to do it. And if it's beneficial to the owners and to the league, they would do it. But now they're just using it as it's almost punitive at this point to try to use it as a negotiating tactic against players is pretty shameful. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think we're going to get something done. I think we're going to play a lot of games. I don't think we're going to miss half the season or anything crazy, but we're not getting anything done by Monday's deadline, and probably not even this coming week. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks.
I never really actually thought that the deadline that they gave for Monday was legit. Like that they
how
were
could
like,
it be?
like never.
Like how could it be that like the number of games played is actually a collectively bargained issue? So this was just owners, playing the public and threatening the players. And yeah, it's pretty bad. Like what's next? Like we're going to make you play without, helmets and gloves. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the owners are going to try next. It's crazy. It's funny you mentioned Heyman because like people jump on Heyman. It's so funny. I kind of feel bad for the guy too. Like he's an old school reporter who his value is breaking news, and there's really no news to break. So to try to stay relevant, and I totally get it. To try to stay relevant, he's trying to stay on top of the whole thing, and he offers opinions sometimes and gets absolutely ripped for it because the guy just doesn't know baseball. But on a matter like this, comes out and says, productive, and people are like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking. I mean, you read the comments and it's just like, my goodness, he's probably right. Like, why are we jumping all over his case? And maybe that's just me getting old, but I kind of feel bad for him. Evan Drellich is out there saying exactly the same thing, and people are like, cool, Evan, good job, man. I am glad to stay on. And Heyman says, and they're like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, my goodness. So,
well, he does it to himself with the shit that he says. Like sometimes it's just so off key. It's like he brings that reputation to himself.
Yeah, he does. And the Mariners, I don't want to say Mariners hate, but his they don't have a plan stuff is pretty funny. So I don't know if you guys heard a couple of episodes ago, we had somebody tossed the question to me and I asked for, hey, your name, where you're from, if you want, and your Twitter handle, if you want. And the guy's Twitter handle was The Plan. And I was like, I'm kind of curious what that means. He emails me or he sends me a message on Patreon and he goes, it's a dig at John Heyman because, he kept saying the Mariners didn't have a plan. So like people have Twitter handles based on John Heyman and the Mariners don't have a plan kind of BS. So I don't know. I just kind of feel bad for the guy, to be honest.
So, yeah, I've been listening to your Baseball Things podcast. It's it's my favorite podcast out there, especially if you're a Mariner fan.
Thank you.
Jason does an amazing job, great guest, and talks about, all things Mariners, and it's an exciting year coming up. So if you want to plug your Baseball Things podcast, tell people how to go listen and subscribe and all that jazz.
Yeah, the best way to find it is to just hit up my Twitter profile and click the link tree. Everything you'd ever want to find that I ever do, write or podcast is linkable there. But you can also go to you can just Google Baseball Things and you'll find the Patreon page. That's probably the easiest way to do it too. If you want to check out what it's about, you can go to baseballthingspod.com or sign up through Apple Podcasts and get free clips and the occasional free episode, which you can also get at YouTube if you go look for Baseball Things on YouTube. So that's the best way to find it. And if you're not sure if you want to pay for it, check out some of the free clips and see if it's your thing.
That's how you got me hooked, man. I started listening to those free clips and I only got 5 minutes and I'm like, yeah, I understand it, but I'm like, I need more of this. So went right on there and got it. And it's been a great listen, man. So
you were my study group. You were you got the good stuff and I gave somebody else nothing. And since you signed up and you're on board, we went with it. 1-0. You're the winner.
What does he get? What does he get for winning?
We'll figure something out. We got to get you something. Yeah. Do you like ice cream? We'll get you some ice cream. Yeah.
You lactose intolerant, Zweifel?
No.
No, you're not. All right. I am. And so an ice cream prize for me.
No ice cream. All right.
Dude, I got some stories and we won't dive into those. But yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. I found out the hard way.
You know what people keep asking me, guys, is like, do you like stadium food? What's your favorite stadium food? Do you guys like stadium food? Because I just, even when I was a kid, the only thing I liked was, when they put the ice cream in the helmet.
I knew that's where you're going. Yeah.
That was it. That was the only thing I like. I don't want hot dogs. I don't want the garbage, garlic fry. I mean, get that. It's stadium food and you're paying $14 for you can get it for $2 after the game anywhere else. Like, what are we doing here?
Sure. How do you feel about the wooden spoon though?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And they give you the little wooden spoon to eat the ice cream out of the helmet.
Who does this? I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
I hated it. They just ruined the whole experience.
When you're a kid, like, it doesn't really matter. You got ice cream, I guess as an adult, I would hate it. Yeah. But I can't remember the last time I bought anything but a drink, like a regular drink, like a soda or water or something at a game. I just, can't get myself to eat at a ballpark.
For people like us who are going to multiple games a year, right? If you're going to 15, 20 games a year, each game you're buying a hot dog and drinks and stuff, that food's going to get old so quick. And so like on a day game, weekday game, I'm not buying any stadium food. But if it's the weekend, Saturday night, and I'm going to the park, I'm going to get my dinner at the park. I'm the drinks at the park. I'll ball out on the stadium food. I'll eat anything though at the stadium, man. I love all of it.
Are you guys like beer drinkers at the games too? You'll just pay the price. Weekends. It's like, that's just kind of the price of the whole. Yeah, I get it. I can't really do that a whole lot either, but I get it. I get the beer thing, or you got to have something to drink. I think, even I do that.
Usually the move is to hit up a bar early and get some shots in you, maybe have a couple beers, and then, you can buy one or two tall boys at the stadium, and that'll get you through at least the seventh. And then maybe you go back for another one.
I always thought they should allow you to bring more things into the ballpark. I understand they want you to spend at the ballpark, but I always thought, like, somebody like me, I don't eat carbs, so what the hell am I going to eat at a ballpark these days anyway? Like, seriously, like, I can't even eat a French fry, or I have to like go hungry for the rest of the week. You know what I mean? Like, so, I always thought they should allow, folks like that have different diets to bring in, certain things, but I guess there's really no way to regulate it. And I'm asking too much from the ballpark. To be honest with you guys probably go to more Mariners games in a year than I do in 5 years. I get so much more out of being home and with my 6 television screens and computer and stuff going. I get so much more out of that. But I did go to a couple of games last September because, the environment gets cool and it gets fun and, stuff like that. So, but I gotta be honest, the food thing is a problem for me. I understand for most people it's not. They just go and they either don't spend because they don't want to, or they just do it. But I really don't have much of a choice these days. So, I got to eat before or whatever. But I think what's going to be cool is, that the Mariners bought that area over there.
Pyramid.
Yeah. And that's going to be a really cool option. It's also going to be really cool to hear the Mariners cry, poverty too, the next time that comes up, even though they're going to be making millions off of that over there. It just doesn't count as baseball revenue. So, at some point they'll be able to cry over that too.
Speaking of baseball revenue, it's been blown up on Twitter today for Evan. We need to cancel ours until the season gets confirmed that it's happening. But MLB TV, everybody's canceling because, why would we renew our subscription when there's no product? And so we need to remember to cancel that, because I've been seeing it on Twitter like crazy. Everybody canceling.
Yeah. Mine was, I canceled mine about a month ago. People are saying, hey, just leave it on and they'll give you something for it. But I'm not going to leave anything up to Major League Baseball to like give me some extra benefit. That's not going to do it.
Why don't you trust Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I mean, you can't, right? Yeah. I remember in 2020, like, because the season wasn't canceled until it was pretty much too late for a lot of folks, that they credited, they did the right thing. They credited things back. Like, I can't remember if they just gave me money back or the following year they gave me credit toward it. I can't remember which way they did it, but they took care of it. So, but yeah, you're not getting anything extra out of it. Why the hell would they do that? Yeah. But yeah, if you have one of those subscriptions, what is that? About $120 these days?
It's something like that.
Yeah. But go get your MILB TV subscription in a month or so. Go grab that. You're going to need that, because I'm going to be referring to all kinds of stuff, and you're going to be like, what the hell's Church talking about? I'm going to be like, oh yeah, let me go watch that. And they added, I think 8 new teams have streams this year that didn't last year too. So we're gaining. And hopefully, I was hoping Modesto would get better cameras too. So I'll have to check in with Keaton and see if he knows anything about Modesto improving their cameras. And I don't know anything about what's going on in Everett. It's such a pain in the ass, and I can't believe they do that. I can't believe they're the team. There's like 3 teams in that whole league that don't have streams, and they're one of them. It's just garbage. But we'll see what happens there too.
How do they not have a stream?
It's weird, man. I think a lot of the teams that were short season really never did. They've had it's an older ballpark, not really set up for that sort of thing.
No.
In the big league clubs, the parent clubs like the Mariners, they rely on, they leave it up to the Everett franchise to pay for that stuff, when it would really benefit everybody if people could, it benefit the Mariners if people could tune in and see Noelvi Marte all season at Everett or whatever. We just haven't got, there's so many other things wrong in Major League Baseball. We just haven't got to the point where, even somebody like Jerry Jerry DePoto, and from his standpoint, it benefits, what he's trying to do in operations and stuff for everybody to be able to just pop on and go, what the hell is Noelvi Marte up to? We just haven't we're so far, we got to unravel about, 10 spools of yarn before we ever get down to that area. But I always thought it was weird how even the teams that do have streams, a decent portion of them, the quality is not very good. It's like, how freaking hard is it? Like, it's a one-time purchase. The higher the quality, the more people are going to sign up for it. And allow people to buy. I understand it's very cheap. What is it, like $20 or $30 or something like that for the whole year? I think. I can't remember, but you can't even buy it for one team. You can't say, I'll pay, $3 a month for only Everett or whatever. You can't even do that. And the lack of agility there. I mean, think about the people that go to minor league baseball games. A lot of those people can't afford to go to big league baseball games. So they obviously really can't afford to do MLB TV either in comparison. So many things wrong. But again, it's all left up to the minor league franchises. So if they really, can't do it because they're not making a whole lot of money, then it's just not going to get done right now.
And then for the Mariners, like if they would just, like, I'm thinking, because they own Root Sports. And so if they wanted to get fans' eyes on every single piece of their product from bottom to top, I feel like Root Sports could be able to do that, right?
You'd think. And you know what? It's not difficult to, for crying out loud, when I was a kid, there was a Sonics channel. You know what I mean? Like, if there's interest there's a way to do it. There's a way to make it happen. You would think that there would be a way to at least put something online, that's available to everybody. And you don't have to make every game free, let the minor league baseball television thing, run its value up. But every once in a while, would it be cool for Root Sports to carry a AA Arkansas game or an Everett game? Yeah. Yes, it would. That would actually be an advertisement for the MILB TV and stuff like that as well. So yeah, there's all kinds of, baseball's so bad at marketing itself. They're so anti. It's like, what are we doing? There was somebody at Major League Baseball that I used to talk to quite a bit that he's no longer with them. But when I needed to go to the Arizona Fall League or something, and I was like, well, I can contact, Pat at MLB and say, hey, can you, put me on the list, the pass list, so I can get a credential. And I was like, hey, let me ask you a question. Why isn't the Arizona Fall League like televised like all? And he goes, you got me, man. Like the people in Major League Baseball don't even understand why they're not doing more with their product. Like think about the players that have come through the Fall League and think about what else is going on in the world, in the sports world, when the fall league is going on, like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, during the week, during football season, there's nothing else going on. Like, are you going to your high school football games? I'm not, so it's perfect. Like, they could just do Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday games and own the night, like, this is what's going on. You could put an MLB network or allow people to stream it or something. And they just don't think of these things. They're so stuck in 1995. It's weird.
To shift gears to the job that Paul Sewald's doing, recruiting Kris Bryant. I think you're a Trevor Story guy, but you're definitely fine with the Mariners getting Bryant or even both of those guys. But what do you think about what Sewald's doing in that recruiting process?
I think first of all, I think it's hilarious because he's so obvious about it. It's so funny. Right. And some of the ways that he's presenting it, like you've seen, like, him say things like, hey, this guy wouldn't be too bad in a Mariners uniform, right? Like, he's just like, he's playing with it. But yeah, I mentioned on the latest episode of Baseball Things that if Kris Bryant signs with Seattle, Paul Sewald is going to be the biggest reason why. He's going to be the biggest reason why, and we should do something for Paul Sewald if Kris Bryant signs with the Mariners. Like, we should all get tickets opening night, first game at home, out near their bullpen, and when he gets called in, we should all jump up and start yelling and screaming for him because he is the biggest Kris Bryant cheerleader right now, and it's legit. Before the lockout hit, Seattle was down the road quite a ways on Trevor Story, but I think that was really, hey, let's just be aggressive and whatever happens. It wasn't, we prefer Trevor Story or Kris Bryant isn't interested. I think Trevor Story and his agents were more willing to engage at that point, and Kris Bryant really wasn't. He was more willing to wait it out. There's a lockout. He
said he was willing to wait it out, right?
Right. So let's just see and Trevor Story is like, either way, like, his agents were like, yeah, we'll talk. Absolutely. Because if somebody wants to offer us $150, we're probably taking it. And it sounds like the Mariners got fairly close to that. Like, they're not going to get outbid for Trevor Story. I would like, we're never going to know the answer to this unless they sign him. I would like to know what the Mariners front office actually thinks about Kris Bryant and his fit on the club, because everybody talks about his versatility, but you guys have seen me talk this down a little bit. They're not going to need him to play first base, like, hardly ever, right? Like, you're not looking at Kris Bryant as a guy you're going to throw in right field 30 times a year. You're not looking at Kris Bryant as a guy you're going to throw in left field another 30 times. You're looking at a guy who might play a couple of games in left or right, might play a couple of games at first, and might play a handful of games at DH. He's your freaking third baseman. So we just need to stop talking about his versatility when it comes to Seattle, at least for now. Like, if there's an injury and you need to move, people around, fine. And there's a bonus to that. Kris Bryant's value is as a hitter. If Kris Bryant can come in and handle third base and hit, he's a guy. He's a guy you should go get. But I would like to know what Jerry DiPoto and friends really think of Kris Bryant, his fit in Seattle, how his bat projects forward, because there are clubs out there that don't like the swing and don't think the swing will play. I call BS on that. We're talking about a hitter in Kris Bryant who, when he was in high school, was a shortstop, was a really good athlete. And when you're in high school, you live off of, bat speed. You're just stronger, you generate bat speed, and you're crushing 83-mile-an-hour fastballs, right? Then you get into college, and he was at USD. You start seeing better velocity, better pitching, and you have to make adjustments. His swing in pro ball is night and day from when he first arrived at USD. We're talking about a guy who's changed or altered, adjusted his swing in a significant manner, at least twice since he's gotten to the big leagues. So as he ages and as maybe he loses a little bit of bat speed, I am not concerned about Kris Bryant. I'm not concerned about Kris Bryant all of a sudden falling off a cliff. Not offensively. Defensively, maybe he's a first baseman in 3 or 4 years, but maybe it's only a 4-year deal anyway, so you're really not worried about it too much. There's always the DH, there's always a little bit of first. He's more apt to lose that quick reaction you really want at third base, a lot more so than can he manage in left or right field. So I think you're safe. You're safe there, the latter part of a 4-year deal with Kris Bryant. But I just don't have much of a clue how the Mariners feel about Kris Bryant and his bat, moving forward. Because it's not like he's been amazing the last couple of years, and it's, he's still just 30 years old. What is he? Is he just a slightly above average offensive player? And if the Mariners think that's all they're going to get out of him and like that's the ceiling, they might stay away from Kris Bryant and spend that money elsewhere. And I would understand that if that's what they believe.
If we strike out on Story and Bryant, who's a guy that you would look to for the Mariners to trade with without, dipping into the top 5 prospects? Is there a way that we can kind of give up like our 10th guy, maybe throw in like a Trammell and then one of those pitchers coming up like Mako and Phillips or something like that? Like, what if you were the GM and you struck out on those guys? Are you making a move for like a Matt Chapman? Or are you trying to get like a McMahon out of Colorado, or like what would your move be?
Yeah, I think the Chapman conversation should happen, and I imagine those conversations to some level have happened already. I'm a little worried about Chapman, just like we were talking about with Bryant, and even more so. What is Matt Chapman offensively? He wasn't good last year. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good last year. And a lot of his value when people look at wins above replacement and things like that was on the defensive side of the ball, which I don't trust at all anyway. I think the first place I would look, actually, if I can't get a deal for Chapman done that I like, and I'm not giving up a ton for Matt Chapman either, but I'm looking at something a little simpler, something a little cheaper, like going out and grabbing a utility type to put at third base, like a Jonathan VR type to play at third base, to mix in with Abraham Toro, and just to buy me time. I can get into June or July and see what else becomes available that may not be available now. Because the last thing that I really want to do is force a deal. I don't want to overpay at all for Matt Chapman. I don't want to, take a high-priced risk, whether it be, trade cost or a contract on a player that I don't really need to, that I don't need necessarily right now. Like, I have a guy in Abraham Toro that has a decent chance to be a league average bat. So do I really want to go out and take the risk that Mike Moustakas can be that for me when I have a guy there that's a switch hitter that should be able to be, viable to some level to buy me some time? But I would add a short-term kind of a 1-year, VR type kind of a guy to stick over there. Something, like I'd want Toro to be my guy for a couple of months, but I don't know that the Mariners can afford to go into a season relying on that many young guys. They're already going to rely a little bit on Jared Kelenic. He's going to get tons of time early in the year. We don't know what we're going to see from Kyle Lewis. So there's some question marks there, and you can only take so many risks like that. So I'd want to back up Toro with a guy like VR, and then whoever's swinging the bat the best gets the most of the playing time. As I just kind of move along and go, all right, so it's June now. It's late June. The All-Star break's in a couple of weeks. Here are the teams that are out of it. Here are the players that might be available. Let me see if I can, make this fix now instead of forcing something in the offseason. Now, most people's next question is, then where's the offense going to come from? This is when you start to look at things like I mentioned Nick Castellanos a couple of weeks ago. You just start looking at outfielders, and you start looking at different ways that you can move guys around in your lineup, utilize the DH spot, which might mean Luis Torrens gets far fewer, plate appearances, which means Toro might actually get far fewer plate appearances, which means the leash on a guy like Jared Kelenic might be shorter, which means Adam Frazier maybe isn't the guy at second base, and you start looking at maybe he's more of a utility guy if I can go out and get another infielder that actually fits and brings a little bit more pop to the lineup. But this is where my Suzuki, Conforto, Castellanos, part of the conversation comes into play. The Mariners cannot afford to start the season without a significant offensive addition, at least one, but probably two, to this lineup, because it was a bad lineup at the end of the year, relying very much on, batting average on balls in play, very much on key hits, things that, aren't really sustainable. But I very much believe in the, if you don't get Story and or Bryant or Conforto, that you can do this with volume too. Like, you can do this with, how about we just eliminate all the at-bats that poor hitters got last year? and everybody's like a 95 to 110 WRC plus level hitter or better. You know, you get your Francis and you get your, but how about the worst hitter on the team is JP Crawford? Even if nobody's really great, that's a significantly better lineup than what they threw out for most of last season. So they may have to do something like that. I just get the feeling though that there's going to be a name or two added to this lineup, and I think it's really going to be free agency. I really do. I think Michael Conforto is a legitimate possibility too. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk outside of very small circles about Conforto in Seattle, but it just makes it's too much sense. Too much sense. I understand he's an outfielder, and you have Julio coming, and he's not really a center fielder, and you don't know what you're going to get from Lewis, and you have Mitch Haniger, but Michael Conforto is going to hit. And when you get an opportunity to grab a guy like that, maybe even on a 1-year deal, because he's kind of in that situation where he needs to go prove it before he can go get the 3, 4, 5-year deal a year from now. I mean, it's just the timing is just perfect. Go bring him home, and I imagine that would be attractive to him as well. But it doesn't matter where these guys play. Like, you could have a weak hitting infield and an amazing outfield, and still be fine. And I think that's what's good about the Toro acquisition, the Adam Frazier acquisition, is you've raised the floor there at least. Those guys look like capable bats, guys that are going to put the ball in play. Toro has a little bit of pop, a switch hitter, certainly can handle third, long-term defensively. If you have to buy some time, by doing the volume thing and getting a VR and grabbing an outfielder like Conforto for a year, or even say a Suzuki, then that's what you have to do. And then you just have to move guys around. They would obviously prefer to do it the way that we're all hoping they do it, by grabbing a couple of infielders or at least one, and doing it the more traditional way, but it doesn't always work out like that.
I'm excited though. I feel like, it's got to be obviously right after this stuff ends, the lockout breaks. All hell is going to break loose, and shots are going to get fired. I just can't wait for the action.
I'm wondering if the league doesn't, which I would understand, to be honest with you, if the league doesn't say at some point, okay, the lockout is, let's say they come to agreement, the lockout's going to be, and they kind of schedule the lockout, the official lockout lifting. All right, we're going to ratify, and as of midnight Tuesday night or something like that, or 9:00, then because otherwise there's going to be lots of talk of tampering, lots of talk of, stepping over the line and doing things that they're really not supposed to be. We know they're doing it. I know for a fact they're doing it. I know people in a couple of front offices that are like, we talk to every team since lockout. Yeah. So every single team about players, we talk to agents, we talk to, they're all doing it to some degree. And I don't think the league at the end of the day is really going to care about that, whatever gets things going. But yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. I imagine it's going to be pretty nuts, but I'm hoping the league does something like that. And I think the union will be okay with that. I don't think they have to okay it, but I think the union would understand if MLB wanted to say, all right, we're going to ratify this at noon tomorrow, and at noon the next day, the lockout's officially ended, and transactions can occur. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of things happen really quick. I would think over a 7 to 10 day span, more money is spent than any other 7 to 10 day span in the history of Major League Baseball, which will be a lot of fun for fans.
Where do you see Correa landed?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm with Booth on this one. Our friend Jeremy Booth, down there in Houston, where Houston makes the most sense. The thing that I'm not necessarily convinced of from afar is if Correa isn't willing to go like 4 and 120 guaranteed, or some sort of an opt out, or something south of like 8 years. If he's not willing to do that, I don't think Houston's the play. I don't think Houston's going 10 years. So if he wants to go, 8, 9, 10, 11 years and do the Harper thing, do the Tatis thing, do the big dog thing, I don't think he's getting that in Houston. But if you're Seattle, though, and I keep saying this, I'm going to say it again on your show. If you're Seattle, you might have to root for Carlos Correa to go back to Houston. And the reason I say that is because the next best option for Houston is Trevor Story. That is a match made in heaven. If Carlos Correa does not go back to Houston, if you're Trevor Story, think about the fit of the Houston Astros. He's from Texas. It's the Astros are still the best team in the division, and he would play shortstop. So I don't think the Yankees are going after Story. I think they know they have a kid in Volpe who's within a year or so of the big leagues. I don't think they're going long-term on any shortstop. So unless a Story wants to take a one-year deal, which I don't think he's going to have to do, I don't think the Yankees are going to be it. And certainly not the Dodgers. So I think it comes down to like a very small handful of clubs. And I think if you're Houston and you don't get Correa, Trevor Story's your guy. So if you're a Mariners fan, you might kind of sort of be like, yeah, spend all that money on Correa. And seriously, 10 and 300, like root for the biggest deal, because Houston's not going to be the 90s, 2000s Yankees where, a deal like that wouldn't hurt them, because their farm system is garbage, and a deal like that absolutely would end up hurting them. So we'll see. I think Philly could fit for Correa. They have Gregorius playing shortstop for them right now. That'd be a big upgrade. Make either trade Gregorius or make him some sort of utility guy. They'd have that option. They could use him at third base a little bit, where Alec Bohm is terrible defensively. That's kind of where I am on Correa. I still think there might be a club popping up kind of out of nowhere to grab one of these infielders, whether it be Bryant or Story. Or
the
Correa.
Angels.
Yeah, I could see the Angels doing something at shortstop with a guy like Story, but my reservation there and thinking they're maybe one of the front runners is they can't possibly think their pitching staff is good to go now. They can't possibly think that. And I don't know how much money they're going to be willing to spend. They already have a ton of money in Trout, a ton of money in Rendon. They still have some money wrapped up in Upton for another, I think, just this year. They're going to have to pay Ohtani huge money or he's going to be gone. I know Artie Moreno spends sometimes just freaking for the sake of it, but I don't know what their budget is. I don't know what their limits are, and they still need pitching help. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Story fits there. You can just throw him at shortstop and he's your guy, and Fletcher's your second baseman, and move everybody else down a rung and make them depth. And, that could work. I don't know that Correa is really a legit option there, but a guy that might take 5 or 6 years and 130 to 150 million, like Story. Sure. I think the Angels could make some sense there. The Dodgers are going to scare me until these guys sign elsewhere. And I understand they got Trey Turner. Justin Turner's their third baseman. They don't have a guy at second that's like, oh, well, they have this guy. Gavin Lux could be that guy. Chris Taylor's around. He can handle second base. They've even moved Max Muncy over on occasion, oddly enough, to play second base. But they don't really have like the guy there. And if Trevor Story is going to be willing to play second base somewhere, because that's where he'd have to play if he went to Seattle, why wouldn't he play second base in LA? Right? So I'm going to be scared of the Dodgers coming in, swooping in, and grabbing somebody like Story until it doesn't happen, until that player signs elsewhere.
So you wouldn't want Story to play third. You see him at second if he signs with the Mariners?
Well, I do know that like you can play him anywhere you want, wherever it makes the most sense for you to play him. But from what I've heard from all sides, from the club side, from the player side, is that second base is more attractive to Trevor Story than third base right now. It keeps him up the middle. And value-wise, if you're Seattle, it makes more sense for Story to play second base. He's more valuable there. He's about as good a shortstop as JP Crawford is. He doesn't make as many flashy plays, but they're similar in defensive value. There's a little bit of concern over the long-term health of his elbow, which is one of the bigger reasons why second base is being talked about rather than third. So you would just slide Frazier over to third base instead. He can certainly handle it. Does his bat profile there? No, but it's still the same infield alignment offensively, whether you play Frazier at second and Story at third or vice versa.
If you want to talk about the pitching staff, it looks like we need one more starting pitcher. Would you like to add like a low end free agent, kind of like a Matt Boyd, or bring back Tyler Anderson? Or would you get more aggressive and maybe ship off some of these prospects that, not in our top 5, but, in the 10 range, maybe a couple of them, and go get like a Maley from the Reds, or I don't even know if that would be enough, but something like that, like where you can add in a legitimate, number 3 guy to this rotation.
Yeah, I think you do both. I really think you do both. A guy like Matt Boyd's not going to be ready to start the season. You're really talking about the summer months, so you kind of have to be careful with that. But doing both, and not, it doesn't have to be Tyler Anderson specifically, but he's a really good example. One, because Mariner fans are familiar with him, and so is the organization. But he's also a guy that's not getting multiple years. He's also a guy that's not getting big money. So if you sign him to a 1-year, $1 million deal, and he starts off as the last guy in your bullpen because you were able to go grab Sonny Gray or something. Nice. Is that going to hurt anybody's feelings? It might hurt Tyler Anderson's feelings a little bit. But if they're winning, I think Tyler Anderson will be just fine. He's still getting his $1 million. You know what I mean? So I would do both. I would look to do both. What I'm afraid of is I'm afraid the Mariners are going to think that their depth is fine, that if they can't grab the impact type, the Sonny Gray, the Tyler Mahle, the Manaea, the Bassett, the Montas, whoever it might be, the mid-rotation or better guy, that they'll just go with what they have already, which means your number 5 starter is a prospect, or it's Nick Margavicius or somebody like that. And to me, that's a disaster waiting to happen. That is 20% of your starting rotation. And if anything, it might make more sense to go with a 6-man to start the season. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of skipping the number 5 starter early in the year. I think it's really important for Seattle to make sure that that spot in the rotation, that 5th spot, whether it's the actual 5 spot, it's one of the 5, it's 20% of your rotation, that it's taken care of with somebody reliable. Tyler Anderson makes perfect sense. I've mentioned Michael Pineda quite a bit. If you want to go out and take a shot at Drew Smyly, fine. But his history, so you better have that covered in another way. You better believe that Margavicius or somebody else is going to be able to step up and give you 5 solid most times out, if that's the risk you're going to take. So, I really think they need to do both. And it's going out and getting Robbie Ray really set them up for a really big offseason. I know we've been focused quite a bit on the bats, and they have a lot of work to do there. But if they're able to go out and grab another mid-rotation starter somehow, Sonny Gray is probably the most likely of the Reds trio to get moved. But I think, Manaea's getting moved. I think Bassett's getting moved. And because those guys are 1-year fixes, while I think the price will be a little bloated, it'll still be less than it'll cost to go get Montas or Luis Castillo or something along those lines, or even Sonny Gray. So I could see Bassett or Manaea fitting really nicely as well. But Seattle should be doing both. And I imagine they're trying to do both, is go get that mid-rotation or better guy and go get the depth filler.
Are you a Carlos Rodon guy?
Yeah, so he's the perfect example of the scenario we're just talking about. Go get Tyler Anderson. Go get somebody will be healthy, who doesn't have any track record of being hurt, was healthy last year. That's not going to cost you a lot to go grab, and then go get Carlos Rodon. And if Rodon's not healthy, you're taking care of at least with a guy you can rely on a little bit, the guy you went and got to help fill that role a year ago. And Tyler Anderson makes perfect sense. But shoot for the moon, man, because that guy was so good for so long. And then it just, to me, it just looked like it was a fatigue thing. And hopefully that's really all it is, with his arm. I mean, he was back up to 95 in a row.
Yeah, he came back, right.
But we'll see how that works. I mean, you're always going to have to worry about, at least for a while, whether he can handle it again. His arm's been through a lot with the Tommy John, and he comes back throwing even harder than he ever did before, and pitching better than he ever did before. And, that slider is back, and, he was kind of abused in college a little bit. So nobody was surprised that the elbow popped, and it threw a lot of breaking balls as a pro in the minors and in the big league. So, that just might be his thing for his, the rest of his career. But if he's going to take a 1-year deal, and he might need to, it might kind of be very similar to the Conforto situation, where you get back, you're 100% healthy, no bumps in the road on the IL, and your performance, pops again. I mean, he could make himself $100+ million by taking a 1-year deal. But I imagine if he does that, if Rodon does that, we're talking about, he's going to have this pick. Like, he's going to be able to go to the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox. And I'm not saying that he would definitely prefer those clubs over Seattle. We'll have to see. I think the longer he waits, the better chance a team like Seattle has. because those teams aren't going to wait around to fill out their rotations. But I love the idea. We just don't know what the medical situation is, so it's really difficult to say, well, he's going to be healthy, because I don't know that he is.
Well, on the back end, I'm excited. I mean, I know our bullpen exceeded every expectation we had last year. I mean, could it be better this year than it was last year with Ken Giles coming back? Andres Munoz going to start getting his reps in. Same with Brash. I'm pumped to see what the bullpen does.
Yeah. Here's kind of what I expect, because bullpens in general, volatile. Relievers, volatile. You just really never know for sure what you're going to get. Very few arms are really good year to year. It's really like 15 or 20 guys in the entire league where they just repeat really good relief performances every year. And not all of those guys are closers either, which is really strange, but that's just kind of the way it works out. I think what's going to happen is by year's end, there's a really good chance the numbers look the same, but the consistency is not going to. They were so remarkably consistent and really only had bumps late in the year when guys were, when Sewald was like overused essentially because they got real thin out there, and he was kind of the hot guy, and Castillo went on the IL there for a short period of time, so they were short and kind of overusing guys. But they were so consistent last year. I don't see that happening. Like, we're going to see a few more blowups, which is typical of even really good bullpens around the league. So, but I do think the upside is bigger. I really do. They're adding guys that are going to miss bats, and Munoz and Giles and I knock on wood a little bit with those guys because they're coming off Tommy John, and you're never really 100% sure what you're going to get. But Giles is a pretty good arm, and the way that Seattle used their bullpen last year so effectively, identifying the right opportunities for the right guys. That's really where Scott Service and his staff kind of earned their money last year. And I really thought Scott Service was, and again, I think it's a staff award. I really thought they were the best in the American League last year. I really did.
Yeah, he got robbed, I think.
Yeah, I thought so too. It's a weird award. It's one of those, how can we expect the writers to know? Like, these guys are beat reporters for the most part, the voters, and they don't watch all Mariners games. It's like, what did we expect the Mariners to do? Were they better? All right, I guess Scott Service was pretty good. I mean, that's really all they're doing here. But yeah, I think the bullpen could be better. I think there's more upside there. And I still think there's going to be an addition this winter. And I think there's a good chance that there's an addition during the season as well.
We need another lefty, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm of the belief that you put your best relievers out there, whether it's 8 or 9, and you roll with it. And when you look at how guys like Sewald and Steckenrider, Castillo even performed against lefties last year, I think it's actually an advantage for the other team to go, I'm gonna pull, like, I don't know, if you're the Astros and Bregman's up, you're not pulling Bregman. You're not pulling Altuve just because there's a right-hander up, right? Mm-hmm. But if they were going to pull a guy because of a handedness thing, you got a righty out there, they're going to pull and put a lefty out there. They just pulled a better hitter to face your better pitcher. There aren't a lot of lefties on the market ever that are as good as your right. best 4 relievers in your bullpen. Are you going to trust Jake Diekman? Just general terms. Are you going to trust Jake Diekman, who might be one of the top 3 or 4 lefties on the free agent market when the year started, when the offseason started? Or are you going to trust Paul Sewald or, Ken Giles or Drew Steckenrider, right? Like, you're not trusting Diekman over that guy, right? Just in general terms. So now if they put a lefty up there, a weaker lefty, a guy that didn't start the game, that probably rarely starts games, why are you worried about matching up lefty-lefty on him? Because if that guy's that good, he probably started the game, right? And you'd rather have Castillo or Sewald face, even though it's a lefty. Those guys did the job really well against left-handers last year, and Giles has a pretty good history of doing that. We'll see how Munoz handles that, but a guy that throws 1,000 miles an hour, that goes so hard, man. I'm not worried about the lefty thing. In fact, I've been thinking, quite a lot lately about no Mishevitz in the bullpen. Just
go all righties.
Yeah, I don't need Mashevitz. He's not even that great against lefties. And with the 3-batter minimum, he's going to have to face 1, 2, 3 righties sometimes. Like, I'm not interested in mediocre Mashevitz. Boy, I didn't mean to make that sound like a nickname.
Oh, that's his new nickname.
I'm not interested in that if I can have, a better guy, face, a better hitter, even if it's a lefty. That's the kind of new thing with relievers these days because of that 3-batter minimum, which I hate. But, you're going to go out and find guys that, can handle lefties as well. If he's a right-handed reliever, you need to make sure you have plenty of those guys that can handle lefties because you're not going to be able to pull them for a lefty anyway if the opposing manager goes to the bench or there's a switch hitter or whatever. I'm not big on the whole go get a lefty thing. It could happen because it kind of falls in their lap. And if that's the case, I think he just replaces Mashevitz instead of joins Mashevitz. Because think about the arms that we could see at some point down in that bullpen. Like, why would you mix in Mashevitz with that group? Like, why are you dragging those righties down? Like, again, I'm not trying to pick on Mashevitz, and he has a pretty good curveball, and he's up to 95, but there's just nothing special there, even against left-handers. So just get me the best 8 or 9 guys and forget about the lefty righty thing because those guys have been really good over the course of their careers and in 2021 against left-handed batters. So, yeah, there's a lot of upside there with that bullpen. And, obviously the key is Munoz and Giles right now. So that's probably why all these trade proposals I'm getting that include Drew Steckenrider are unrealistic because until Seattle is really comfortable with what they have in Munoz and Giles health-wise, they're not moving any of those guys down there.
One thing that I've been seeing, I think it was by The Athletic, and it was the writers doing their, like, what is each team, what is their one need, their number one need. Somebody said for us to sign Nelson Cruz. I love Nelson Cruz. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I thought Jim Bowden say that. Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. Are you just getting the Mariners and just getting them through and just writing what you want to write for them and then on to the next team? Or like, do they actually think, does Jim Bowden actually think that Nelson Cruz is the best number one fit we have left that we need?
I think he was trying to avoid having the same player be the best fit for more than one team, which makes it difficult, which is not the way to do that anyway. Like, I think the best fit for the Astros is Carlos Correa. After that is Trevor Story. I think the best fit for the Mariners is Trevor Story. Happens to be the same player for multiple teams. Nelson Cruz, man, here's what I could see. Let's say the Mariners, I'm not going to throw players at it, but let's say they add one significant bat at one of the infield spots. Not both, but one. Mm-hmm. And let's say they go out and get like a Kevin Kiermaier type. So they have a left-handed hitting defensive center fielder. So really what they're missing is another bat. I could see at that point Seattle going, should we just do the Nelson Cruz thing? He's still out there. It's late. Yeah. Like, I could see that happening. I absolutely could see that happening. But we might actually be seeing Nelson Cruz finally after, again, like 40 years of Nelson Cruz, maintaining his performance after the age of 30. The guy's like 100 years old. It's crazy. We might actually be starting to see that bat slow down a little bit, enough to impact his swing and miss numbers, enough to, finally impact. What's he, 41, 42 years old? It's crazy. He's just been so good. But I do imagine, that could still help. But again, you're not just adding whatever Nelson Cruz gives you. You're adding whatever Nelson Cruz gives you for, X price. And the value of that is Y. And Y is how much ever better Nelson Cruz is going to be in 2022 at age 40 whatever versus what mostly Luis Torrens would bring you. And I understand that Nelson Cruz is Nelson Cruz and Luis Torrens is not Nelson Cruz. But a 42-year-old or whatever Nelson Cruz, at the tail end of his career, and a Luis Torrens who's 25, 26, who performed the way he did last year, maybe Luis Torrens goes backward and the league has something for him that he can't adjust to, but he was so good last year. He was one of their best 3 hitters, once he came back from AAA. And I'm kind of hoping that, I understand that there are a lot of scenarios where Luis Torrens just gets shipped off because Seattle's just kind of bumped him off. There's just no place for him to be. But I'm kind of hoping it works out to where Torrens can get like 80 games at DH, maybe catches 20 games, maybe plays first base 10 or 15 times and gets his 400 plate appearances, because I'm very curious to see if he can continue what he did last year. He hit the ball awfully hard to all fields, lots of line drives. There was pop there. He was getting a good velocity. Like nobody was fooling him. So I'm really curious to see what happens. I think the Mariners did a really good job in that trade, man. Luis Torrens.
Oh my God, they killed it.
Torrens. I'm gushing about Luis Torrens, and Ty France was in that deal. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Torrens can do. But I get it. I get the Nelson Cruz thing. Somebody's gonna grab him.
With Torrens, and this is a question for my buddy Eric Kempton, who he loves Luis Torrens, but he was always trying to push the idea of put Luis at leadoff. And I'm like, I don't know, man, but he was hard on it. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on that.
No, I think Torrens does really well when he can just be really aggressive in the count. I think he's one of those hitters where once he gets to 2 strikes, the drop off is a little sharper. He needs to get to the fastball, early in the count as much as possible. And he's really good at it. And as long as he lays off the breaking stuff out of the zone, he's going to mash, he's going to hit. That's the key though. Can he stay on that? Can he stay away from that slider, that right-handed slider? Can he stay back on the left-handed changeup, things like that, and not chase, above the hands and out of the zone. Leadoff though, don't you want guys with on-base skills, speed? Torrens is one of the slowest guys on the team.
Yep.
Kris, I think you might be faster than Luis Torrens.
I got wheels. Man. I got wheels, Church.
I'm serious, man. Like people are going to say, no way, Luis Torrens is an athlete. Luis Torrens is not an athlete. He's a baseball player, man. Like we're talking about a guy who's been squatting behind a plate for 10 years. Like, yeah. Not going to run. And not that you can't sometimes bat a slower guy, at the top of the lineup, but there's really no reason for it. You have other guys. Mitch Haniger should lead off. I'm still a lead off Mitch Haniger guy. Even though last year he didn't put up the big on base, numbers, and I'm kind of hoping he gets back to that. I assume he just handles that spot really well. And we've seen him perform really well in that spot. I absolutely despise JP Crawford batting in the top half of the batting order. Like despise it. He's just not that kind of bat. I'm hoping Adam Frazier is essentially a better version of JP Crawford. You watch. That is I'm not going to call it a fatal mistake, but that is a mistake Scott Service and the Mariners will make. Adam Frazier will bat like 7, 8, 9, and JP Crawford will lead off, even though Adam Frazier is a better hitter.
I think Doyle wants him batting 8th, though, right?
Who's that?
Joe Doyle wants Frazier to bat 8th.
Yeah, I think if you ask Joe, I'll ask him on Tuesday. I think if you ask Joe if you could lead off Frazier or Crawford, he would pick Frazier because I think he knows. I mean, we're just talking about a better hitter. A guy that makes more contact, has a bigger track record. I realize that it was mostly a career year, but we're talking about a guy who's in his prime right now and put up, a 365 on base last year. I mean, that's 30 points better than JP Crawford. So, and he makes even more contact than Crawford, and neither guy are really guys that you need to, to move out of the lineup against left-handed starters. So, like Frazier's the better guy. Lead him off. That's what I would do. Or bat Haniger first and bat Frazier second, and then go right, left, and then kind of adjust from there. It really depends on the rest of the lineup. I mean, if you have Story and Bryant and or Story and Conforto or something like that in the lineup, maybe it doesn't matter who leads off. And interestingly, though, we started this leadoff conversation talking about Luis Torrens, but if Kris Bryant happens to be added to the lineup, he's got time at leadoff, and he would be a guy that's put up on base percentages that Scott Service and everybody down in that dugout would have to consider, batting leadoff. I think the one thing we went into last season, the one thing I went into last season believing is that we would see Scott Service and Coach Pete address and kind of handle and deploy the bullpen a little differently. And we saw that all year. From day one, they were different with it. It wasn't, I'm saving this guy to be the closer. It was best matchup, best situation, and sometimes that was the 5th inning. Most of the time it was the 6th and 7th and 8th. I think they'll adopt some different strategies when it comes to leadoff. But if they were to start the season tomorrow with the current team, I think they would lead off JP Crawford. I really do. And that is a mistake. He's just not that good. Frazier's a better guy.
Well, Jason, I wanted to ask real quickly about just the up and coming guys. It seems like there's just a lot of hype around Julio Rodriguez and his development, and I just want to get your thoughts on his timeline to eventually, come into the show and all that.
Yeah, I'm hoping, and obviously I'm not the Seattle Mariners. They obviously know more about the player than anybody else out there. But what I don't want to see is Julio Rodriguez on the opening day roster. And the reason for that is we're talking about a guy who's played less than 50 games at AA. And I understand he's really good. And I understand that maybe he's a transcending performer, in the batter's box. And he's not Jared Kelenic. And there are reasons to believe in Julio Rodriguez's floor, whereas Kelenic created himself, quite a few issues in the batter's box, and nobody anticipates Julio doing that. I think they feel the pressure a little bit of the whole service time manipulation thing that happened last year, or that the conversation happened last year with the Kevin Mather stuff. So I think they're still feeling that a little bit, but I really think ideally they get Julio Rodriguez, 100, 150, maybe even 200 plate appearances in AAA, and just make sure he's a well-oiled machine. I don't even care if he's hitting 240, but it just seems like he's got a routine down. Things are rolling. He's facing, the difference between the pitching he faced most of the year last year before he got to AA, when he was in high A and when he was in the Olympics, versus what he's going to face in AAA, astronomically different. The guys in AAA are 27, 28, 30 years old. They've been in the big leagues before. They have 4 pitches. They command 3 of them. One of them's at least plus, one of them's average, and the other one's useful. And you just never know. He's going to face lefties that can attack the top of the zone and have plus changeups out of the. He's just going to face things that he's never faced on a regular basis before. And I think he should go through that. I just think he should go through that, the PCL, a time or two and get a couple hundred plate appearances or so. So for me, late May or June would be ideal. But sometimes the player will tell you, I'm not a big believer at all. In fact, I think it's total BS. I don't care what he does in spring training. He could go 37 for 37 with 37 grand slam home runs. I don't care. He could hit a bases empty grand slam home run and be God. He's not on my opening day roster. I just don't buy spring training performances at all. Beyond the statistics, I want to see him do things, but I need to get him into a game routine. That's not happening in spring training. He's not suiting up every day, facing major league pitching every day. He's going to face that AA, AAA guy, that second or third at bat. I just want to make sure they do it right. If I'm Jerry, I'm playing it a little bit safe with Julio, maybe even a little safer than my player development people tell me he's ready for it, just in case, just to play it safe, that I don't rush the kid, because once he comes up, I don't ever want to send Julio Rodriguez back to AAA. And if I rush him at all and he's not ready and he's not in routine and he's not a well-oiled machine in the batter's box when he's called up, I'm not interested in calling him up. So we'll see. I still think there's a chance they do the whole opening day thing. I do. I think the Mariners front office puts too much stock in spring training. We saw it with Trammell. I absolutely disagree that they had no choice. They absolutely had a choice. And they chose to give the guy that was swinging a hot bat in spring training the job because lack of better options, right? So I don't know. We'll see. They can't afford to be in a position to where they lack better options right now. And I think if we think about that outfield mix right now too, Evan, they're not really going to be in that spot. Kelnic's there. Lewis is there. Mitch Haniger's there. I don't think they're going to be in a position where they're like, well, man, he's swinging the bat and we need a guy. That second part of that isn't going to be there, and knock on wood, injuries obviously would potentially change that. I just hope they're smart about Julio Rodriguez. He's going to force the issue soon enough anyway, because he's just that good.
And as a fan's perspective, I hope people remember what happened with Kelenic when everybody wanted him up early as possible. It's like my mom says with cooking, slower the bake, better the make. Let it cook. Let them do their thing, right? And then when they're ready, they'll let you know. And so, I don't know, it upsets me and it just gets annoying when people are just trying to push and push and push and push. Like, no, we need him now. We have to have him on the opening day roster. It's like, we don't, we let him cook, let him bake.
Yeah. And then Trammell goes back to AAA and didn't really hit all that well there. He clearly needed more time. And we've seen, over the years, we've seen Mike Zunino have like the greatest spring training of all time, and then he comes out and can't hit 200. I mean, we've seen it once. We've seen it 1,000 times. It's just spring training is just, and especially this year, because it's going to be shorter, regardless of what happens from here on out, it's going to be shorter. It's going to be at least 2 weeks shorter. So, we'll see. We're going to see Julio soon enough. I think last year I thought it would have made sense to leave Kelenic down there until May or June. I feel the same way about Julio Rodriguez from a player development standpoint. I'm hoping one of the things that comes out of the new collective bargaining agreement is something that, I don't want to say deters, but something that eliminates the service time manipulation conversation. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but hopefully something comes out of that benefits teams from just getting their best players to the big leagues when they're ready, instead of worrying about service time manipulation. Because essentially what's going to happen is they're going to get some of these guys for 7 years. People always think about 6 years. And the average everyday rookie in Major League Baseball since 1990 is 25 and a half years old. Well, 7 years from 25 and a half is 32 and a half. So his new free agent contract starts at age 33 on average. That's really old. He's just not making the money. So we just need to get these players to the big league sooner. And I'm hoping something comes out of the CBA like that, because that could impact the conversation around Julio Rodriguez. If he's down there hitting 330 for like 2 weeks, what's going to happen if he goes 4 for 5 and 3 for 4 on back-to-back days to open the season in Tacoma? Some idiots are going to be on Twitter going, the Mariners are manipulating Julio Rodriguez's service time. Yeah, because that's what happens. I do think Jared Kelenic was called up last year because the Mariners did not want that conversation hanging over their head. I do. And even though they'd already passed the threshold because it was May, they just thought, let's just get him up here. I think they handled the Logan Gilbert thing, pretty well. It was really weird to even give him one start, but I'm hoping this year's a little more normal than last year, but now it looks like it might look exactly the same as what it did a year ago, with the late start this time being in the big leagues instead of down in the minors. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun year, and these guys are gonna come up and earn roles, and we're gonna see a lot of guys playing that we didn't see last year. We're gonna see guys last year that were getting a lot of at bats that can't sniff the roster or can't get in the lineup. And that's where my Jake Fraley, Dylan Moore conversations always come up, because those guys have no business being on a winning team's roster right now. And I think one of them is going to make the team out of spring training. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens there.
Well, Jason, we kept you for a long time, man. Thank you so much for, talking all the baseball things, no pun intended, that we want to hear. And go check out.
Wait. No pun intended. Don't do that.
Well, come on.
Pun intended, baby. Pun intended.
Pun intended.
Right on.
But to our listeners, listen, the Jason Churchill Baseball Things podcast, you got to go check it out. It's my favorite listen out there. This is the time. You guys got to go support the Mariners and really get into, all this baseball talk that's out there. It's a great time to be subscribed to Baseball Things. So, Jason, thank you so much, and have a good one, man.
Yeah, hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Anytime you guys want, I'll talk baseball, whether you hit the record button or not. And you should let's talk off the air about you guys joining me for the opening day Zoom watch. We're gonna do a Zoom watch. So if you're going to opening day, cool. If you're not, you're gonna be home watching it. We'll have you guys jump in. It'd be great if you guys join, and we'll just chat baseball with all the Baseball Things subscribers on opening night as we watch the Mariners. Whoever they play.
Yeah.
I don't know what the schedule's going to look like, but that should be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to get a couple of folks to pop their heads in and say hello to have some surprises. But it'd be great if you guys are there.
Yeah, man. No, we'd love it. We'd love it. And one other thing that I told the Evan and Kris, that I had a surprise kind of nugget for them, but kind of just a cool fun fact. Tomorrow, February 28th, is actually Monday Mojo's 1 year anniversary. It's when we interviewed Dave Sims and did our first ever episode. And so you'll be releasing Church on our 1 year anniversary. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Honored. Yes. Do I get a t-shirt?
Yes.
We're working on all that. Yeah.
All right. I'll mail you some ice cream. You mail me a t-shirt.
Done deal. You're
not you,
mailing
Kris.
might
No
be
ice cream for you, man.
No, not me. We don't want to know what happens after that.
We'll send you some chili or something. All good.
All right, Jason. Thanks, man.